Afternoon, Weiss fans. Boy, it's been so long since I've said that. I know I haven't been loving you guys like I used to. I've been broadening the demographic, trying to bring in some new kids, and it's starting to look like some things are taking over my channel, My Little Pony in particular. Don't panic, I swear that's not the case. I still love you guys, and I'm still gonna make Weiss videos. So here we are with another set review. If you watched my tournament deck video, then you'll remember that I mentioned Daybreak Illusion being a really good set and me playing it as my next competitive set. I haven't built the deck yet, but it is true. I do feel that this is a really good set, and I wanted to do a set review of it, even though it's not technically the newest set anymore. This is going to work just like my last one. I'll look over the 10 cards that I find the most interesting or unique from the set, and if this goes over really well and I get requests to do more, then I'll do another 10 cards in a new video. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. First card I'll look at is the yellow level 3, and elitists, take note of the ability. I've been doing Weiss for a couple of years now, and every time I mention a level 3 that doesn't heal, elitists decide that, oh, it's just a crap card. From now on, this is my answer to everybody who thinks a level 3 has to heal or it's garbage. Let's go through it step by step, shall we? Effect 1, Recollection. If you have 3 or more tarot cards in your memory, then this card gets plus 1500 power. That's so stupidly easy that it might as well not even be there. It might as well just say this card gets plus 1500 power. When you play it, you draw 2 cards and discard 1 card. Ah, what's that? Hand advantage? Control change targets? When you have this card's climax in play and you attack with it, it gets plus 6,000. Did not stutter there. 6,000 on top of the 1,500 you could have if you have 3 cards in your memory. 17,000 unboosted? Yeah, please. Oh, but that's not all. The second half of its climax effect is your opponent cannot use Encore. Can't Encore. No Encore. No paying 3 stock. No discarding a card from their hand. So yeah, me and the other girls were talking, and we were thinking about that whole you guys coming back from the discard pile thing. We don't really want that to happen anymore. We have a new idea. Why don't you just stay dead? Are we cool? Is that cool with you? Yeah, so that's the new plan of action. I'm a 17,000, and you're gonna stay dead. I know it seems like I'm obsessing over this card, and I've already spent like a minute and a half of my 8 minutes just talking about one card on its own, but this card really does make me genuinely happy. It's a level 3 that doesn't heal and finishes games. What was it that one guy said? At level 3 you can't finish a game by brute force alone? Well, yes, apparently I can. Happy Time Ginka is a really interesting card, and it's one of the main cards I wanted to talk about. It's a back row character that doesn't give any assist. Instead, what it does is you can tap it and put the top card of your deck under this as a marker, and then on your next turn, tap it and put that card into your stock. This is going to be a very controversial card for the set, I feel. It gives you really high stock, but there are a couple of risks that come with playing it. First of all, back row needs to give you some kind of power boost. Or at least that's how it is normally. The fact that this is a back row character that doesn't give any assist is kind of hurtful because your front row characters have to stand on their own, or you have to count on not winning on level 1. Personally, in my own personal opinion, I think this card is pretty amazing because it gives you stock power even if you have problems keeping your front row up. More stock means more encores later in the game. It means more changes can be happening because you have more stock to pay for effects. And all in all, you don't have to rely on straight up power to win because you've got so much stock you can either encore or use really good effects. I probably wouldn't be happy with having 2 of these in play at once, but you know, we'll see what happens with it. The last Ginka we'll look at is the 5500 level 1. She's not necessarily that unique, but I wanted to look at her anyway. The fact that she's such a huge contender for Asuna Imprisoned Queen is amazing to me. Her recollection only requires that you have 1 card in your memory, which like I said before, is so dumbly easy to do, it might as well not even be there. And she has a form of Super Encore that stays no matter what. Even if you just had to play her as a straight up 5500 that only has Super Encore, it'd still be a worthy play. So there's never a time where this card will be dead in your hand. Hinata Taio's first effect is really kind of not good, so don't even pay attention to that. The reason I wanted to look at her is because her second effect is a level 1 suicide. That's not the only interesting thing about it. We've seen level 1 suicides before, but one thing that makes this really unique is, one, it's in a deck that relies pretty much solely on its level 2 play. So you can play cards like the Ginka that gives you stock instead of power without feeling too bad, because you don't really want to win on level 1 anyway, and this card is kind of proof of that. Secondly, it's free, which, come on, is a little broken. Most level 1 Suiciders cost 1 stock, and that's pretty fair. You're paying 1 stock to have a card that guarantees that you get level 1 advantage. But this card walks straight over a lot of level 1 threats. Cards that rely heavily on level 1, especially decks that use a lot of Super Encores at level 1, are really hindered by this card. Not necessarily because they get reversed, but this guarantees that they have to waste some resources to keep their cards alive. Most sets have a card that says you can shuffle your waiting room back into your library and then you get some kind of effect if you have 5 or less cards in your library when it's played. Admittedly, our version of that isn't quite as good. You can do it whenever you want to, and that's kind of a plus, but its effect really isn't that amazing. First of all, it costs 1 stock, which is what? Come on, alright. It already costs 1 stock to put this card in play, on top of another stock it costs to pull off its ability. Then, this card goes to memory, and the 1 card that you choose from your hand, the Youth Cerebrum, is put into your memory as well. So you're losing a bit of field advantage, you're losing a bit of hand advantage, but the plus is, before you shuffle your waiting room back into your deck, you do get to choose 2 characters and put them in your hand. That's okay, and I'll likely be running this card, but it's definitely not as good as, say, Beauty Baron from Disgaea, for example. So a level 1 event that costs 3. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but this card is stupid good. Heck, I'm a little surprised it doesn't cost more. It should cost like 5 stock. Its effect is you choose one of your Hinata Taios from your discard pile and you take it as 1 damage to your clock. Spoiler alert, you should be running at least 3 Hinata Taios in your deck anyway. After that, you choose a level 2 or lower tarot card in your waiting room and put it on any slot of the stage. That's not that bad for a level 2 event. Oh, wait a second. This isn't a level 2 event, is it? It's a level 1 event. So let me get this straight. For 3 stock and 1 character going to my clock, this gives me change with any character. You mean the weakness I had, the whole not having a very good level 1 lineup, just got completely destroyed because I can start playing level 2 characters at level 1 anyway? Yeah, I think I'll do that. Oh yeah, icing on the cake is this card goes to your memory. Recollection already makes that effect great, but what makes it even greater is getting cards into memory means that's less cards in your deck when you reshuffle and more chances of hitting climaxes. I honestly don't really know what to think about Akari and Luna. As far as risk-reward goes, this is about as far as it goes. If you can manage to get 2 of these in your back row, then every turn you're guaranteed to get 1 stock. That is ridiculously good, especially with how many good events this deck runs. All of that stock will not go to waste. As long as you can spend the stock, getting stock is never a bad thing. The argument against this is if you're constantly putting cards into your stock and not seeing them, then chances are you're going to get 1 or 2 climaxes mixed in there. This is very, very true and a very real reason why the card like this wouldn't be good. But on the other hand, if you can spend the 1 stock you get from this effect, it's like you're never truly losing stock. You probably wouldn't want to do this every single turn anyway. You probably would save this for if you need to do a really big play, you can do this to save the amount of stock that you're having to spend. Which is okay because you're spending the stock immediately and it's not sitting there being a climax and getting more cards piled on top of it. But then the counter to that is this card doesn't give any kind of assist, so you're giving up your entire back row and not giving yourself a single chance to get any kind of assist power. I just don't know. I'll leave you to your own thoughts on whether this card is good or not. This event is like the red event, but better. Why is it better? Well, I guess I'll spell it out for you then. Level 1, you have a level 2 and this card in your hand. At the beginning of your turn, you clock the level 2 and draw 2 cards. Then, during your main phase, you play this card and immediately play that level 2 from the clock. It can be done with any level 2, and you do take the 1 damage from this card, but you're playing your level 2 on level 1. It's really not that big of a deal. It also doesn't require a card in your waiting room, like the Hinata needed for the red one, so that's a plus. Sayra's surprising side's assist ability sucks, don't even worry about it. It's only 500, only for one of your characters, and only during your opponent's turn. Its second ability, though, is interesting. If one of your other characters would be sent to the waiting room, then you can put this character in the waiting room instead. In a way, she's a free encore for one of your characters. This is a really good counter to climax effects and stuff that would step over your character when it normally wouldn't. It's also a good counter to assassins, obviously. Again, like I said before, its assist ability isn't very good, but the fact that she's a scapegoat makes her a little more playable. Last card we'll look at is Theodore Thoughts of Friends. Its bond ability is okay, but it's not the reason I chose to look at it. Its second effect is pretty amazing in a deck like this. You pay one stock, you draw a card, you discard a card. It's pretty simple. The early game to this deck is all about getting extra stock, and this is a really good way to channel it. For example, if you ran the Ginka that gives you one face-down stock every 2 turns, then you can run this and spend that stock immediately to draw a card and discard a card. Not only does it let you fix your hand, but you can also get cards in your discard pile. For example, you could get Hinata into your discard pile to use the red event. Change targets too. So this card in itself isn't that unique, but for this deck style, it's really interesting they gave us a card like this. Now to give my closing thoughts. As far as the metagame and playability, I do think this deck can survive. No, scratch that. I think this deck can dominate the current metagame if people learn how to play it effectively. With the deck thinning that comes from cards that put themselves in the memory, to the extra stock, to the powerful characters, to the versatility, this deck has a chance to be one of the best. It's only been out for like a month or two, so time will tell if that actually happens, but I personally, in my opinion, believe that this could be one of the top 4 decks that we have available to us. Oh, one thing I will say about the playability though, blue got shafted. Okay, I don't know what they have against blue, but blue didn't get anything really that good at all. Don't get me wrong, blue has some amazing support, and throwing it into your deck can make it a lot better, but I cannot think of a single way you could run blue as your main core. And I know a lot of you out there are going to go out there and make a blue deck and try to prove me wrong, but let me put it this way. Any Daybreak mono blue build that you've given me, any one of them, even if it runs perfectly, even if it runs like a dream and you've never lost a game with it, would run significantly better if you ran a different core instead of blue. It's not that blue's bad, it's just that it's significantly worse than every other color in the set. Don't get me wrong though, blue has some great support cards and you can definitely run it as a backup to whatever your main colors are, but I would never run a blue Daybreak Illusion deck. Which is a shame because I hate it when something like that happens. You should be able to run a mono blue Daybreak Illusion deck and not feel like you're missing out. Like, oh yeah, I don't have access to this or this, but at least in return I get this, and that helps me win in a different way. Yeah, no, just don't play mono blue. As far as theme and artwork goes, that's a different story. I don't know anything about Daybreak Illusion, and that means I can't talk about whether or not it stays true to its original themes or concepts from the show. The one thing I will comment though on is the artwork. The Daybreak Illusion artwork is absolutely stunningly bad. Pick your jaw up off the floor, okay? You can't be that surprised. It's lazy, it doesn't look that good. The characters do look pretty okay, but the backdrops and set pieces and stuff, they're mostly just monotone colors, and the characters' expressions don't show much life at all. There are a few cards that emote really well, but for the most part, the cards are just really boring to look at. A lot of you out there are thinking I'm being really unreasonable, but look at this. And this. This is pretty amazing. Even this. The cards didn't have to be dull, lifeless close-ups with boring backdrops. Even if you disagree with me and you think the cards look pretty good, you have to admit they could have looked a little bit better. And that's the end of my set review. If you enjoyed this analysis, then it would really help me out if you left me a like and maybe subscribe to my channel for more content. You should also comment on stuff you'd like to see me make a video on. You could also just comment and tell me I suck or something. Any comment's really appreciated. And lastly, why not check out my channel? You might find some other stuff that you like. Well, until next time, Weiss fans, I'll try not to make it another month-long wait.